Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dan, and as ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to, I'm back with a book review today. I've not done a book review in a minute, and it's been, I've explained before, when I do book reviews, I have to read the books first. And don't get me wrong, I don't read each page, but it does take a while to read read the books, and some of them are quite big as what I'm doing today. And try to get some good feedback for the viewers, so that I do a good job at reviewing the book. And I'm also trying to be fair to the author as well. So I've got three books that I've been reading for the last few months. So I'm going to do. I've got three reviews coming up. This is the first of those, and today I'm actually going to be reviewing Azure for DevOps. This is a beast. It's a big book. Look how thick it is. So Azure for DevOps from by Kamil Mrzyglod. Sorry if I've butchered that name. Kamil. Sorry if I can't pronounce that last name. I've totally butchered it, so I do apologise. So this is Azure for DevOps. This is the second edition. And this actually came out in 2020, so this is during COVID that this came out. But yeah, it kind of struck out to me. Obviously, I know a lot about Azure, but for the DevOps side of it is quite something that I'm not really up to speed with. So I really thought this would be a good one to review. As ever, I'm gonna use the Packt portal, the subscription portal, to actually do the review. So obviously I've got the actual hard copy book as well. As you can see, it is rather thick. It's a big book, and there's a lot of chapters to it. But I think that's just because it's so in depth. If I'm honest, my own thoughts is very, very detailed. And I can see that Kamil has put a lot of effort into this. So first, massive congratulations to Kamil for doing a very, very interesting book and a very good book. So as normal, if we look at the first thing I always like to look at, who is this book for? What level are they trying to target? So this book is targeted at developers who are familiar with concepts of programming, architecture, and deployment for hosting environments. And it's a Microsoft Azure technology closely related to .NET platform, so you need some prior knowledge of that technology stack as well. However, as the cloud is technology agnostic platform, there are also examples addressing other programming languages. So it's not just going to be .NET and Azure, even though it's focused around Azure. There will be, and there is, it does touch on other elements as well. So straight away we can see this is probably for people with who are developers, but maybe just aren't as versed in Azure as other sort of developer technologies. So very much maybe a novice to beginner level for Azure, but I'd say a seasoned developer. This book, and again, as I'll go through, it's not like a read it once and put it down sort of book. I'd say this is more of a kind of, use it as a bit of an encyclopedia, and you keep on referring back to it. So again, this again, a very standard Packt sort of book. It tells you the chapters. And we can see, we saw it's how big the book is, how thick it is. It's got a fair few chapters, 25 chapters in total, which is, in my opinion, a massive book. If I look at the pages, it reminds me of the Endpoint Man and the AVD book that Ryan did. There's 600 pages. It's huge. It's not quite as big as that, but still huge. So I can imagine this took ages to write. And again, it gives you a bit of insight into, to get the most out of this book, maybe try, installing the software. So again, it gives you, there's obviously going to be some exercises as well, which is really good. It gives you some example code as well. So a very sort of standard Packt sort of introduction, which is what kind of expected. And then we actually start getting into if we go down the technology, if we actually go down this chapter list here, we're very much looking at web applications. So it doesn't, with most books, you start off with it kind of explains concepts and stuff like that. Some of the books use the AVD one again as an example. That very much explained what AVD is, about VDI, very, very kind of level 100, very basic stuff. This doesn't really do that. And again, the author's been very clear. This is for people who are developers. You need to be a developer and have experience in development technologies. So to be fair, he's said that off the cuff. If he said this is for beginners and then went straight into web applications, like, well, okay, we'll maybe try easing us in. But no, very clear. This is to do for those people that you need to know You need to be a developer already. So straight into web applications in Azure, specifically App Service. Again, I know a bit about App Service, so again, it was quite interesting reading that. Goes into container registration, then deploying web applications. So we're going to have some labs here, then using the Azure containers instances, building a search engine. So it's very much like almost like a how-to for developers in Azure. So really, really, really informative, and it kind of explains why it's so many chapters. So very, very technical book, and I actually really enjoyed reading it. So I'm a techie at heart myself, so very much enjoyed reading that. So as we move on, if we go to chapter 1, as I said, it kind of goes through some technical requirements, and then just get straight into it. And again, a really good mixture. I love books that have images, and especially when they're teaching you to do a lab, walking you through it. So very, very good by Kamil, walking through it. And again, I tried to do this in my book, in my ABD book. Walking through how to do a web app, explaining it. So great combination of theory and images, and again, very lab orientated. It's very practical orientated. So really, really interesting, and especially when you want to learn new skills. Sometimes just reading about them is difficult. So reading and actually doing, and Kamil does that. He goes through labs, and this is a theme throughout the book, as we saw from some of the chapter names. That it just goes down through a whole app service. All of his chapters essentially are lab, and then he goes through, and it did mention it in the preface, they do touch on other technologies. So he's gone into working with different operating systems and platforms. So again, he said right at the beginning what it's about, and he's doing that. Kamil's doing that in the book. He's actually, not just saying this is what it's for. He's actually saying, I'm going to do other technologies as well, and he touches on them here: Java, PHP, Python. So again, very much, very, very informative. Loads of images to make it easier for you to follow. And one bit, I'm always, especially with these, more so with, I suppose, exam prep books, but any sort of book, I love for there to be questions, and Kamil does not disappoint. 13 questions. It's not just like, exam questions. They're more testing your knowledge of what he's just taught, what he's just gone through. So again, really, really massive kudos to Kamil for including some questions just to test. Okay, I've just done the lab. Do I not actually have I actually remembered it? And then we go into, again, we keep on going further down. We move on to Azure containers, and this is again for staging and managing images. So again, here we go again. More labs. Love it. As far as I'm concerned, for books to be lab orientated for me is a massive win. And like I said, this is not just a read once and put down book. You'll keep on referring to this book, especially when you're learning, Azure for the first time, and it takes you a long time to pick it up. So again, goes through zone redundancy and geo-replication. So that's more of an Azure service rather than a container, but it's part of containerization. Really goes into some detail, and again finishes it off with some questions. 8 questions this time, but again, it's just testing your knowledge. And it's the same throughout. We took this one, the chapter 3 or part 4, chapter 3 is around deploying web applications, and it's the same format. Goes through the theory, combines it with some really interesting flow diagrams, and then eventually there's a lab on it as well. I think there's using Azure container instances. The next chapter has the lab, but again, loads of sort of command line. And images. It just breaks it up so well. So yeah, I really did find this book really informative, engaging. And I say it's a massive book. I'm not going to go through each chapter, or else I will be here all day. But it's like I said, I learned a lot from this book. I'd say my favourite chapter was probably the let me find it, the serverless and Azure functions. So I'm starting to look into more sort of serverless stuff, and don't know what's happened there. So I found I really enjoyed this one. Again, it was very, very easy to follow because it was just broken. It wasn't just all text, and there was images from the portal, so I was able to come and have a look. Talks about scaling as well. Do a lot of scaling in AVD, so it's very interesting to see how it wasn't here. And then did a lab, and it was just very, very easy to follow. Even though I'm not a developer, I've got an understanding of development, and I just kind of found it even a novice, very easy to follow. So I think Kamil really does a good job of getting that information across. And again, like I said, finished it off with 6 questions this time. So it doesn't have to be the same amount of questions. It's just testing your knowledge, and I think that's good when you are reading a book like this, or when you try to learn new skills, to keep on testing your knowledge. And the same theme throughout the book for me. Like I said, it's a very heavy book. It's a very interesting book. If you are a developer and you want to get into Azure, I definitely recommend buying this 100%. You'll find it really informative. As I said, it's a very long book, so you'll have to take your time with it as well. Don't rush it. That's why it's taken me so long to get through it, just because it's so much information. It talks about performance, scalability, which are very important aspects of cloud. So, away from the developer area, just even in IaaS and PaaS, performance, scalability, and maintainability are very important topics. He touches on those: scaling, looking at Azure CDN, and managing APIs with Azure API management. So there's so many Azure services that he touches on in this. We could go on and on. And again, the load Azure Traffic Manager as well. So load balancing that. One bit that I didn't really see much. I think it touches. To be fair, it touches on it throughout the chapters. But what I've not seen, unless I've missed it, is a chapter focused around security. And that's probably the only thing I can think of that this is maybe missing. Because there's so many different services here. How do we secure it all? I know it kind of touches on that, probably like a theme throughout the chapters, but would it be nice to have a chapter dedicated to security, if I'm honest with you? That's the only bit where I think, could have done with that. But generally, very, very fun to read. I gained a lot from it. And I think again, if you're a developer looking to get into Azure, it's very much the book for you. So well done, Kamil, on a great book. So yeah, that's it really. I just want to do an overview of it. Really, I'm not going to read the whole book in front of you. I want to give my high level thoughts around it. Just trying to promote Kamil's book really, because it's a great book. Second edition came out in 2020. I'll put a link to where you can buy it from on Amazon in the description. I'll put a link to Kamil's socials as well. Please do follow him. Very, very informative person. So as I can tell by the book. So yeah, I said I've got 2 more books that I'm going to I've got scheduled to do a review on. One of them is the Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect Exam SC100 by our good friend, this channel's good friend, Dwayne Natwick. Dwayne book's going to be off the hook. And then I'm going to do one Rancher deep dive. So this is totally out of my comfort zone. This is by Matthew Mattox. This is more around Kubernetes, and so yeah, again, massively out of my comfort zone. So I've read all those 3, so I'll be doing in the next few weeks you'll see some videos around them. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Do not forget to like. Please leave me a comment, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.